10 reasons why you should play Plasma Sword Nightmare of Bilstein. Reason number 1.
It's got this crazy stop thing!
Just kidding. Although that is a reason. The real reason number 1 is Newfound availability. Plasma Sword was included in the recently released Capcom Fighting Collection 2, which means you can use your favorite controller on your favorite hardware, unlock achievements, and avoid being outside, all while getting access to 7 additional fighting games. Previously, if you wanted to play Plasma Sword, you had to either own a Dreamcast, be in an arcade 25 years ago, or emulate it on PC. Now, there's an official version on all modern hardware. Some people, including myself, do not emulate games, so for people like me, it's absolutely amazing for it to suddenly become available on modern hardware. I even have a Dreamcast hooked up in my living room, but not having to use that old controller and having modern resolution and features is fantastic. I've been looking forward to this collection for a basket of sleeps, and I'm currently doing the electric slide, due to having easy access to not just one, but 2 classic 3D fighters. The second one is Project Justice, which will probably show up on this channel eventually. Reason number 2, characters. The characters were written with personality, designed to be visually interesting, and were creatively brought to life. Plasma Sword hit arcades in 1998, only 5 years after the very first 3D fighting game, Virtua Fighter in '93. 3D fighting games weren't even old enough to fall down the stairs unassisted, so don't expect AAA cutscenes that inspire tears and snow angels. However, the slideshow cutscenes, along with gameplay and dialogue, succeed in showcasing the colorful designs of these premium USDA-certified gluten-free farm-raised characters. The writing, body language, color theory, animation, and potassium content of these characters convey a strong sense of personality, which makes them more memorable, enhances the experience, and slathers them in barbecue sauce. The characters are generally made in pairs, which means if you learn one character, you basically know how to use their counterpart, which is convenient. Visually, though, the characters are very distinct and have different supers, even from their own counterpart, which, combined with their story, makes it worthwhile to play both. Anyone who loves science fiction like Star Wars or Star Trek will appreciate the colorful and wild character designs, which include bird people, androids made from plasma energy, a pretentious pig person with a brain on the outside of their body, ballerina ninjas with energy hula hoops, and more. The interesting thing about sci-fi is that it doesn't just say, "No, he's a birdman, he's a bird man," but it poses questions like, where are they from? What do they believe? How did their civilization arise? And do they find humans edible? Reason number 3, the setting and story. Sci-fi fighting games are rare. 3D sci-fi fighting games are even more so. Rarely does my love for science fiction and my love for 3D fighting games intersect. Plasma Sword's marriage between the two is rivaled only by that time those kids fell on that sidewalk with the chocolate and peanut butter. Soul Calibur has the old and fantasy angle on lock. Virtua Fighter has the modern, realistic angle on lock. I would yippity-skippity right out of my Scooby-Doo PJs if Plasma Sword came back with another entry to lock down the science fiction angle for 3D fighters, 100%. In the meantime, Plasma Sword carries the sci-fi torch faithfully, and I didn't even have to toss it a ham sandwich at mile 5. The game's story and lore is interesting, and it keeps you invested. The character stories vary wildly and display a high level of creativity. If you love science fiction, you will appreciate the true endings of each character, which, reminder, you can see by completing the arcade ladder with a score of 100k or more. You've got all kinds of crazy stories here. What kind of stories are we talking about? Are we talking about stories about ham sandwiches? Not a lot. Are we talking about kids time traveling to save their mom? Yeah, we are. Are we talking about the classic blow up the enemy space station and escape at the last second type scenarios? You betcha. Are we talking about self-sacrifice to save others? I think so. Are we talking about secret third-party agents with their own agenda? Well, I can't believe it's not Butter Day, but I can believe we're talking about that one. The stories compelled me to finish the game with every character, which is something I would recommend, as it's an enjoyable learning experience and provides a rich scope of the narrative in this universe. Reason number 4, supers. They are easy to execute, which means you can enjoy them right away. They add some excitement to the gameplay, not only because the characters are breakdancing to a light show, but also because the ebb and flow nature of the comebacks that can easily arise from their high damage numbers. One character will pop their Pib Extra and miss, the other character, having dodged, will pop their super, and the round is over. That might sound like a lot, but it's really just an intensified, dramatized, caramelized, and exaggerated version of the regular game. They swung, you stepped, you struck, you won that exchange. Now do that with supers, and the stakes are raised a little, but only after you sear them, you really want to lock in that flavor. Also, the supers are visually appealing and often cinematic. Some of them even have a little of that Tekken 7 quality, where if you land the first hit, the rest of the super is free real estate and plays out like a cutscene. I know other games have done that too, but you have to remember, this game is from 1998, when Alexander the Great was still cleaning his plate, so I have to wonder if this is one of the first games to do it. Each character technically has 3 different supers if you count the plasma field, so the variety keeps it interesting. Each character has a quarter circle forward A plus B for one super, a quarter circle back A plus B for another super, and a B plus K plasma field that locks the opponent in an enclosed environment with you. The screen changes and you see beautiful glowing colors, and it gives you access to new moves in a supremely advantageous state. All you had to do to make that happen was press 2 buttons at the same time. Think you can handle that, or am I going to have to call Grandma? If you're not familiar, quarter circle forward would be like from 6 o'clock to 3 o'clock on the joystick. Quarter circle back would be like from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. All of that assumes you're on the left and your opponent is on the right. Otherwise, forward just means toward your opponent. Reason number 5, stages. The stages are interesting, atmospheric, immersive, visually appealing, and just make you want to roll around in baby powder. Although the environments are done farther away and of a lower resolution when compared to something like Soul Calibur, they are still very atmospheric and enjoyable. They definitely enhance the experience. The beauty of the sand planet is striking, and there is a spaceship wreckage that immediately makes you think about the story behind it. The fourth stage has beautiful and rich colors and appears to have a hidden starbase in the side of a cliff. It definitely appears to be inspired from Endor in the older Star Wars movies, and as a science fiction fan, that is always welcome. There's a level that appears to be on a moon and has a giant mechanical monster in orbit whose destruction demands questions from the player, such as, what the heck is that? The resolution is not going to astound anyone in the 4K era, but you can easily tell a lot of thought, work, inspiration, and midnight runs to the corner store to get more Dr. Bob went into these stages. The modern era, in an effort to make everything 4K and lifelike, can tend to lose some of that photography composition and inspiration that was still present in games like Plasma Sword. Back then you had to look good because of art, not because of pixels. Plasma Sword is good art. Reason number 6. This is going to sound weird, but the game has sidestepping, okay? Do you know how many fighting games you can play in 2025 that have sidestepping in a 3D environment? Not a lot. I think that being able to move around in a 3D environment and consider things like axis and rotation provide a more rich and stimulating fighting game experience. If you love fighting games and you've never fully explored a game like that, you're missing out. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Sidestepping your opponent's attack and immediately having the advantage is a very satisfying feeling. Also, in real life, when something is coming at you, stepping to the side is one of the first things you're going to do. Ever since I was a kid playing fighting games on the PS1, I thought, why can't I move out of the way? Why can I only move toward them or away from them? As an adult, I've come to appreciate 2D fighting games as well, although 3D will always be my preference, because the fact remains,
sidestepping is my real dad.
Reason number 7. The game has freshly roasted, organic, fair trade, sustainable, rainforest-friendly, bumblebee-preserving, and robust mechanics. It's got the beef. There's a lot to sink your teeth into, like a Happy Apple 4-pack, Jack. Although a button masher could probably enjoy the game well enough, the real Plasma Sword experience comes from rolling up your gamer sleeves, putting on your gamer goggles, and marinating your scalp in gamer yoo-hoo. Oh, and also the real Plasma Sword experience comes from learning the various mechanics and how to use them. It has the vertical-horizontal concept from Soul Calibur, meaning you can sidestep a vertical strike, but a horizontal will catch you mid-step. It's rooted in Capcom's traditional canceling system, where you might throw out a 2 or 3 hit basic combo and then input something like a quarter circle forward attack before the original animation ends for that combo. That's really how you get your score up to 100k for those true endings. Capcom players will feel right at home, and it's not actually that difficult for non-Capcom players. It has the aforementioned supers and plasma fields which can turn the tide quickly. It has 2 different kinds of universal counters. One stuns your opponent so you can follow up with damage, and the other plays out a little animation of you stylistically and aggressively taking them to school and eating their lunch. I don't know why you would take them to school and eat their lunch. Maybe just to display dominance. You should probably see a therapist. There's more to the mechanics, but those are the fundamental concepts. The casual player can keep it light. The player that wants to dive deep can dive deep. Reason number 8. Approachable inputs. Pretty much everything you can do in this game is very doable and approachable. What I mean by that is there's no incredibly difficult skill that you have to develop to play the game. There's no scraping the button for a single frame. There's no 10-button supers. There's no airtight combo trials like KOF 13. There's no pretzel inputs. There's not even a quarter circle forward, half circle back. Half circle is about as wild as the game gets, and almost everything is a quarter circle. Thankfully, the game also has a list of basic combos for each character that just require simple button presses like 3 vertical or horizontal strikes in a row. Each character has specific basic combo options like AAKAA or KKBA. I would recommend Googling an old FAQ and finding the combos there to save time. While you're there, consider that some of these were originally accessed through dial-up internet, which is like modern internet, but much slower, and accessed through a shrieking goose. Reason number 9. Features. Capcom Fighting Collection 2 has a robust set of features that collectively provide a strong reason to play Plasma Sword. There is an extensive art gallery that includes early concept work, character designs, draft sketches of the opening cutscene, and even the arcade overlay info sheet, which is a strong reference point and shows how the game was intended to be played. The game also has a practice mode. Anyone who plays fighting games even slightly deeper than the surface level will know and appreciate the value of a practice mode. You can find out what strings together and really explore what your character can do. Playing the actual game will be exponentially more enjoyable if you actually know the extent of your character's abilities. The game also has online play with rollback netcode, which is nice, although since it's an older game on a collection, it might be difficult to find a match. But in theory, if you had a group, you could all get online at a certain time. You can make 7 p.m. on Wednesday be Plasma Sword time or something, I don't know. Also, the other games included in the collection are fan favorites mostly and worth a try. As previously mentioned, it has Project Justice, another 3D fighting game. In 2025, any game with sidestepping is worth a try in my book. Reason number 10. Wild balance. You know the concept of mutual deterrence? That's where one party doesn't do something because they're afraid that if they do, it'll make the other party do something, and so for a while, nobody does anything. This game is the opposite of that. In this game, everybody does everything because they're afraid that if they don't, that'll give their opponent the chance to do everything, and they're right. Earth-shattering abilities are easy to do and can come out any second, so you have to liberally baste the chicken at every possible moment, especially after you flip it. The balance philosophy seems to have been to make every character incredibly effective to cancel each other out. Although there is no such thing as perfect balance in a fighting game, it seems to have been fairly effective, even if some characters are obviously more advantageous to use than others. Tournaments will see repeated use of certain characters. However, all things considered, you can definitely succeed and win with every character once you learn how they work. Also, some of the moves and some of the balance is just wacky and enjoyable in a way that seems intentionally funny. For example, the bird people have an incredibly effective jumping homing grab, which may or may not make you pop in your binky and cry into your diary until you realize you can just duck it. You can just duck. If you crouch, it can't reach you. Duh, birds are afraid of the ground. You didn't know that? That's why they're always in trees. If you ever see a bird on the ground, you owe it some respect. He's overcoming his deepest fears while you're standing there with your ice cream cone. Another fun fact about the balance.
It's got this crazy stop thing!
In conclusion, Plasma Sword is a great 3D fighter that deserves your attention and has been made accessible and affordable. Companies look to where you spend your money and your time. If you spend your money and your time on 3D fighting games, there's a good chance we're going to get more 3D fighting games, which I know a lot of us would appreciate. A lot of companies don't change their underwear anymore without consulting market research and analytics, so be one of those numbers and vote with your wallet and your engagement. Thanks for stopping by. Let me know what games you've been playing in the comments. I hope you have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching. Peace out.